Now we go to Major League Baseball following the weekend that was. The week after the trade deadline, that was just 6 days ago. We set up the outlook for the run to October and earning playoff contention. The Yankees remain the favorites in the American League at plus 240, just 40 cents, though, in front of Baltimore at plus 280. Cleveland, a 6-1 number in third. The Guardians, the best record in the American League. The Astros and the Twins tied for that fourth best price at 7-1. 5 teams, Donnie, in the American League at 7-1. We'll show you the NL odds in just a moment. That has really been a 2-team race all year long. But there are 5 teams at 7-1 or shorter in the American League. Only 3 at that price or better in the National League. So we expect it to be highly, highly competitive for that American League pennant.
Yeah, and by the way, you are looking at those top 2 teams here. It's the Yankees and the Orioles, and rightfully so. Right now at the FanDuel Sportsbook, plus 240 and plus 280. I completely agree with that. I still think the Yankees have the slight upper hand here. I think they're going forward for the rest of the season as a complete team, just a little bit better than the O's. But that margin is close, and if you're telling me, hey, Don, I think the O's are going to win, look, there's arguments to be made for that as well. But if I'm looking in totality for the American League myself, Yankees, Orioles, clear-cut favorites here. Then, of course, Guardians, Astros, Twins, and Mariners. But if we're being honest, like if you are, I don't know, Yankees or Orioles fans, you expect to hopefully meet up, let's just say, in an ALCS at that point. But the thing that's going to happen here is as we head down the stretch, right now it's a dead heat in the American League East. And why that is big? Yeah. Because both teams can't win their division here. They're in the same division. So once you see the Yankees and or the Orioles win, you might be getting a really nice price point on number 2 because the Orioles, let's just say at plus 280, they're still the second best team record-wise in the American League. They shouldn't be the second best team in the odds market because their path is going to be much harder where other teams are going to have home field advantage against the Baltimore Orioles. So maybe if you're looking at a stance like, you know what, Donnie, I'm not ready to make a decision right now on who I think is going to win that division, Yankees or Orioles. But at the end of the season, let's just say the Yankees win it by 2 games or the Orioles win it by 2 games. I'm interested to see what that price point, not on the division champion is going to be, but on the second place team, because you're going to get a much better price point. And for me, I do think it's far and away, Ben, in the American League. The 2 best teams are the Yankees and the Orioles, and I don't think it's particularly close.
I would have to agree with you, Donnie. You might be able to position yourself better in the playoff bracket, but I still think from the odds perspective in the overall optimistic outlook, the Yankees and the O's a peg above. Yeah. So let's talk about what we are seeing then in the American League postseason format. Of course, the expanded MLB playoffs. Here's where things stand in both leagues. 6 teams now qualify, the 3 divisional champions, 3 wild card teams. The top 2 teams get a bye into the division series past wild card weekend, which is a best of 3. Donnie, there has been that belief that the last few years in the expanded postseason, being in a wild card spot and playing right away actually might provide a benefit for how random baseball can be even in October. It's what we saw last year. The Rangers and the Diamondbacks, both wild card teams, making it to a World Series. Texas winning a World Series championship for the first time in organization history. So do not be scared if Baltimore relinquishes its lead in the American League East. The Yanks and the O's now tied for the top spot, but New York in front from the odds makers' point of view at a minus 150 price. Cleveland still 4.5 games up over Minnesota in the American League Central. Seattle a 1-game lead over Houston in the American League West. But when you look from the odds, that is the story. They're favorites, co-favorites right now, Seattle and Houston, to win that divisional title in the AL West. Minus 110 for the M's, minus 110 for the Stros. But look at what the odds are telling you. Houston a much better price at 7-1 to win the American League pennant than that of Seattle.
Yeah, because the pedigree is there for the Houston Astros. Been there, done that before. The Mariners, usually that team like, we'll see what they can do in April, May, and June, and then typically fall by the wayside. But I did like the moves that the Mariners added to get a couple bats into that lineup, and it certainly helped them out. Had a nice series against the Phillies. Weren't able to scrape too much up yesterday against Zach Wheeler, but that's going to happen from time to time. But you are right about once you get to the playoffs and a team that's already playoff established, we call it that slingshot effect where, let's just say the Orioles do lose the AL East, but then head into the wild card round and win it. They're they're already in playoff mode. And that's also the same belief where if you have a team that's up 7, 8, 9, or 10 games with 2 weeks to play in the Major League Baseball season, taking their foot off the gas when another team is 2 to 3 games back of the wild card and makes it in to the playoffs, they've already been in playoff mode, locked and loaded, ready to go as the playoffs start. Because that tripping point usually comes in round number 1, and we'll see if teams handle it a little bit differently this year. But it will be fun to watch. I'm still going to stick with that prognostication that the Yankees are my team in the AL, and we'll see how it plays out that way.
Oh, you saw there, too, the Royals at 18-1, the Red Sox at 23-1, a $5 difference. KC a 2.5-game lead for the third and final American League wildcard spot at this moment. To the National League we go. Up next, the National League pennant prices ahead of a huge midweek series that starts tonight out in downtown Los Angeles between the Dodgers and the Phillies. And DRS, when you look at these two teams right now, both have been struggling as of late, but the Phils even more so since the All-Star break. But really, for the last 2 months in Major League Baseball, it's been a two-team race atop the National League. The Dodgers still the favorites at plus 160, 70 cents in front of the Phils at plus 230. The Braves are there, and they should be, but I don't know anybody that is overly optimistic that Atlanta can surpass either the Dodgers or the Phillies in playoff contention or in those pennant prices. The other teams in the National League we'll get to in just a moment, but we start at the top with this midweek marquee series about to begin tonight in L.A. between the Dodgers and the Phils. The Phils avoid a sweep in Seattle yesterday. Zach Wheeler sensational, winning 6-0. The Dodgers won the final 2 games of their set against the Oakland Athletics to win the series against the A's, but did enter on a 3-game win streak in terms of that Saturday matchup against Oakland, a 3-game skid. So the Dodgers got off to a great start following the All-Star break, struggling a little bit more here in the last week. The Phillies just 4-11 since that All-Star break.
Yeah, and coming out of the break here, some of that momentum obviously lost between the two. But if we are looking at this series, how much is going to change the landscape? Because as we saw, the Phillies in their previous matchup against the Los Angeles Dodgers in Philadelphia ended up sweeping them. The Dodgers would love to return that favor. We'll see. But also, the Phillies got a big win yesterday. Not because we don't think the Phillies are going to another game the rest of the season. It's just the timing of it. You had such a devastating loss on Saturday night where it looked like you were finally going to clear that hurdle. And then Zach Wheeler to the rescue on Sunday, who was phenomenal. And then knowing that it's not as if you're going to play, again, the Chicago White Sox on Monday. Oh, we'll get back right. You're headed into Los Angeles, where that is going to be an unbelievable playoff atmosphere, and see who's going to be the best. Now, the Phillies might be looking at this year as going like, of course, I don't think we're going to sweep, but let's at least get one of these games here not swept by the Dodgers, because that really could turn a lot of things on their head. Yeah. The Phillies are a solid ball club. The Dodgers are a solid ball club. To me, 2 of the best teams in the National League, but as we pointed out multiple times, sometimes it's not how you're playing now, it's how you're playing down the stretch, because the other talented teams, I'm not worried about the Braves. I said it all season long. Still think they're going to be a playoffs. Just don't think they have enough talent to do a lot of damage once they reach the National League playoffs. The Milwaukee Brewers, Yelich in the back, the lineup sometimes questionable. But you look now at those teams out there in the NL West. The Dodgers, obviously, first and foremost. But now you're seeing the Padres with all that talent finally starting to turn it on. The Arizona Diamondbacks, who made the World Series last year, finally starting to play good baseball. Are those the teams that we worry about, where you say Dodgers, Phillies, skip over the Braves, skip over the Brewers, and then start to worry about the Padres and the Diamondbacks, because you'll have to play them in a wild card series? I don't think anybody wants to do that at this point.
Milwaukee a 5.5-game lead in the National League Central. It would seem, as of this moment, as really has been the case all year long, the Brew Crew are going to be in the postseason. How much October noise they make, that remains to be seen. Right now, Philadelphia still a 1.5-game lead over L.A. for what would be the number 1 spot in the National League playoff bracket. But those two teams earning a bye seems set as of this moment. Milwaukee not all that far behind, I guess you could say. But from the price perspective, how far back do we go? San Diego, as of this moment, 12-1 to win the National League pennant. The Diamondbacks, 19-1 to repeat as a National League pennant winner. The Padres, since the All-Star break, 11-3. Arizona, since the All-Star break, 11-4. Playing much better baseball at this moment and occupying 2 of those 3 National League wildcard positions.
Yeah, you're looking at those teams because you're trying to catch the lightning in a bottle, and it is going to change from week to week to month here. Phillies were the best team in baseball, then they look like the worst team in baseball. We'll see if they recover, but also more from a betting perspective. Sure, you want to take the Phillies and the Dodgers, still thinking the cream is going to rise to the top. But when you're just looking at price points saying, boy, the Padres are really good. And you look at their frontline starting pitching, their bullpen that they reamped up here at the trade deadline, and just the talent of that 1 through 9 this year, why not? Because they're taking a look at a 12-1 price. The Diamondbacks, who have the official caught lightning in a bottle team last year heading into the World Series, they're at a 19-1 price. Like, they're buyable numbers where you figure if they can make the playoffs, maybe they can do some damage. Because, again, just looking at the Diamondbacks, oh, we're just lucky to be here. Last year we made it and got knocked. No, you made it to the World Series. And the Padres certainly have enough talent to make a deep run here. And also, if the Dodgers and or Phillies are faltering down the stretch, those are the two teams I'm aiming right now. That NL West, not the first place team in the Dodgers, but the teams behind them, they might be able to shake it up here in the NL down the stretch.
LA still a 4.5 game lead in the division, but it is getting much tighter. Hour 3 comes your way up next.